What a month. Hello, my name is Emily Crow from Crochet Creations and welcome to my YouTube channel. I love to talk about all things Yarnie vlogs, Yarnie podcast, sharing what I'm working on, sharing product reviews, anything in the Yarnie realm. That's what I do here. So if you want to stick around, I would love if you could subscribe and definitely let me know down below what you enjoy most about this podcast and if there's anything else that you want to see from my channel, because I would love to know. It is currently Saturday, April 8th. Yes, I think it's April 8th. So it's a little bit later than I have been trying to do my podcast filming, but work has just been really crazy. I just started a job as a full-time nurse at a hospital about an hour away from my house. There's just been a lot going on, so it's been hard to be on top of things as much as I have wanted to be, but I'm hoping that things will settle down a little bit. My schedule won't be quite so chaotic all over the place, but we'll talk more about that later. But I'm just really happy that my in-laws are playing with my daughter downstairs and outside so that she can have some fun while I can get some filming done. It's been a little while and I just really wanted to sit with you and share the things I've been working on, new things I have gotten, new yarn goodies, and just talk about how things have been going on with me since it's been about a month since my last podcast episode. First and foremost, I wanted to talk about our giveaway. So this sock set was one I put together. This is Emma's yarn. This full skein is the July 21 sock colorway, and then this little one is called Cactus Flower. Ta-da! And I picked this yarn out from, I think, Rumpelstiltskin, which is a yarn store in Sacramento when I was visiting there before we moved out of California. And I got that as my 500 subscriber giveaway, and I was having a hard time. I had multiple winners drawn and no one got back to me. So we started over with the last podcast. So thank you so much for everyone who commented on my previous podcast episode, sharing ideas for different types of videos that you want to see from me, because a lot of them were ideas I had, but it was really validating to have those ideas solidified as you shared what you're enjoying and to also get some new creative ideas that I hadn't thought of before. I really appreciated that, and that'll really help me as I get back into making other videos sometime eventually. Slowly but surely, I'll put out another video here and there that hopefully you are looking forward to. I am happy to announce the winner is Ashley Rainey, who I actually know. She is Goose and Ghost Knits, and I'm so excited that she has won. So Ashley, please reach out to me on Instagram or via email, and I'll get contact information so that I can mail you this sock set that you earned. Thank you so much for subscribing, and to all of you for being here. I have now surpassed 600 subscribers, so it makes it really gratifying to have people interested in the things that I'm sharing and the content I'm creating on here. It just makes me feel really good, and I'm so grateful for you, and I hope to continue to add people to our community and to grow this channel and to continue talking about crafty things that I love. So thank you so much for being here. With that news out of the way, another piece of news that I wanted to share is that I had a design come out in a magazine. If you haven't heard, Crochet Foundry is a digital magazine that is owned by Crochet, and this digital magazine just recently moved to doing an issue a month instead of doing an issue every quarter. And what's really cool, their mission, hi Alfred, their mission for their magazine is to have size inclusive patterns. So they ensure that all garment designs are sized up through a 5X. And I think that's really important to support size inclusivity in designing so that we can move the industry towards that being the standard and not the exception. So I had a design selected to be part of their April 2023 issue, which just came out yesterday as I am talking to the camera. So this issue, I have my garden bed blanket design. It's a throw design that uses intarsia crochet, which was a new technique to me. It was a great learning experience. Yeah, I'm glad that I learned how to do it, and I love how how it turned out. It definitely taught me a lot, and I really love how using spike stitches to blend some of the color blocks together just really shows how the colors play together. It was really fun to be able to design this piece from my head and put it into an actual item, and I'm really proud of this design because it taught me so much in learning Untitled Crochet and in writing that pattern out. If you are interested in this pattern or any of the patterns that are available in this magazine, I'll pop a little picture of kind of a sample of what's in it. There's 6 patterns, I think. The issue is only $8 as I'm speaking. I've got links down below. You can either get the one-time issue, you can get a spring bundle that includes the March, April, and May issues. So you can purchase that bundle and you'll be able to get all 3 spring magazines for a discounted price, or you can get a yearly subscription, which comes with other benefits as well. I'm not sure. You'll have to look and kind of see if that's something that you are interested in. But yes, I have my first pattern published in a magazine that just released. I'm really excited. If you are not interested in purchasing the magazine, then you'll have to wait like 90 days before I can put that pattern up in my shops. So I think $8 for 6 patterns. If you want to make 2 of them, it's already paid for itself. So I think it's a really, really good deal, and I really like their mission. Links are down below if you're interested in taking a look at that pattern and that magazine and other options for purchasing it from Crochet Foundry. Without further ado, let's move into our finished objects. Okay, since it's been a month or so, it's been almost like 5 weeks since I last filmed, I've got a few things to show. Not a ton because, again, I started working full time, but I have a handful of items I want to share with you. So first and foremost, I finished my March Desert Vista Dye Work socks, and I've been wearing them so they don't look very pretty on my blocker. Ta-da! I used the Journey sock pattern just like I did in February, and this colorway is called Hydrangeas. So I knit 2 pairs of these shorty socks, 1 pair for my sister-in-law and 1 pair for me, and I still feel like I need to play around with this a little bit. In order to comfortably get on my foot, I made this opening at the top bigger, so I added more rows to this section, where kind of like where the gusset is, I guess, in construction of the sock. And so that made it comfortable to put on my foot because I have kind of a thicker foot. But then I felt like sometimes it got a little loose and was a little long. So I'm not sure. I feel like I still need to play around with the fit a little bit. It was working really well in shoes, actually, like wearing sneakers. I didn't feel like it was falling down in my shoe once I got my shoe on. So that was really nice to wear with sneakers. But again, I feel like it's just a little bit loose. So still gotta play around with it and kind of get my best fit for what I want for these socks, since I feel like for shorties, especially lower ankle socks like this, I want them to be more of like an everyday sock rather than just a I'm getting cozy in bed at night kind of sock, you know? I made those and I already gave the 1 pair to my sister-in-law, and I have this pair that I have worn very much. I have another pair of socks that I think I had started last time. I can't remember, but I made a pair of shorty socks for my friend Olivia for her birthday, and I whipped them up really fast. They are gray and red shorties. I'll pop up a picture so you can see what they looked like. And I was really happy to be able to get them done and really pound through them. And I was really happy with how they turned out. And I mailed them to her, and they came like a day or 2 later than her birthday, but they came on a day when she really needed a pick-me-up. And so the timing worked out perfectly, and I was just really happy that I was able to make those for her. I love making things for other people, knowing that they're gonna love it and cherish it. So that's partly why I used to do markets, because I felt like if they're gonna buy this, they really want it. And I really love that gratification knowing that someone wanted something that I made. I didn't really enjoy markets after all. That's a whole nother story. I'm not doing markets anymore. But making gifts for people that are really knit-worthy and that are, you know, very clear about the kind of things that they want, I really enjoy that. So I'm really happy that I could make those for her. 2 other finished objects that I don't think you've seen either of them. I was a little bit behind. I had some deadlines I needed to make, but I was hitting the first deadlines, you know, with trying to get my March socks done, trying to get those out of the way, and then starting other things. So I have this test knit that I was able to finished by the deadline, just barely. I definitely started it later than I had hoped, but it worked up pretty quickly. It was a really good project that was mindless. So this is like a bandana cowl. This is called Tahitian Sunset. Sunrise. Oh no, I don't remember. Okay, now I have to look it up. Okay, it is. It's called Tahitian Sunset by Megan Gonzalez, and I love testing for her because I love the aesthetic of her designs. She's a really great person to communicate with. She's very on top of things, but also she is very mindful and respectful of my time as a tester. So I always feel like her testing deadlines are really reasonable, like exceptionally so. And she never finishes a test early, because that's something that I've tested for a couple bigger designers. And if they feel like they've gotten enough feedback, then they will just publish the pattern early before the test even finishes. And when I haven't finished my test, like they didn't ask me like, hey, does everyone have their notes in? Is it okay if I publish early? They just go ahead and publish it a couple days before I even submit my notes because the test isn't over. That just rubs me the wrong way. That's not a good testing experience. And so I really appreciate that she let me use the full time because I needed it. With my schedule, I needed it. So it's got this garter stitch sections with a little bit of lace, and the bottom has this cool like undulating like wavy pattern with the lace that makes this kind of wavy too on this edge. So it was really an interesting shape. It was kind of like if you picture a triangle with like two edges cut off, and then you like attach those two edges together to make it into a cowl. I don't know if you can picture that, but it was a really fun experience. I used the sock set and I had like 1 yard left of this contrast color. So I made the smallest size. If you want to make this pattern, you could use a sock set, but also know that you might lose at Yarn Chicken. So beware, because I barely made it, but I love how it turned out. I use Explorer Knits and Fibers. This is an older colorway. To the Sea, I think, is this greeny variegated, and then Tide is the mini. So that was really nice to be able to use an older skein in my stash that I didn't necessarily have a project for. I didn't necessarily need to make socks in this yarn. There's some skeins that I want socks, but this one not necessarily. And so it was nice to be able to use it. And I know I complained about garter stitch with my Find Your Fade shawl, but this was way more manageable because it was so much smaller. So I actually enjoyed having the mindless garter stitch. Last but not least, for finished objects, I actually have a pattern design that is coming up. This design will be released, I think it's like June 1st or June 2nd. Like it's coming up in a while, but it's going to be featured in the Spring into Summer blog hop. And so I needed to have this pattern done. I have the photos done. I have the actual item done. I need to work on the pattern this week. So for this blog hop, I got the yarn from We Crochet for free, which was really nice. And I'm so grateful for that. So I was able to make this pattern, a totally new pattern. The pattern will be sent to the organizers of the blog hop, who will then compile all the patterns for those involved and make a big PDF bundle so you can purchase all like 30 something patterns for a very low price. And when that's available, I'll let you know. It'll be at the very beginning of May. So keep an eye out for when that is starting so that you can decide if you want to purchase that pattern bundle. But my pattern will be available in the bundle as well as for free on my specific day for the blog hop. More details to come, but this is the Sweet Pea shawl. Ta-da! You can kind of see it. I'll pop some pictures up because I really like how the pictures turned out, and I think that they showcase the shaping and interest of this shawl. I haven't done a pattern in my Sweet Pea collection in a long time, but I use like cluster stitches to give it a little bit of texture as well as a specific kind of like peacoat mesh. And so I used those elements within this shawl design, and I ended up running out of yarn because the yarn that I ordered, as what happens when you get yarn online, did not turn out visually together like I had hoped. And so I ended up scrapping my original idea. I was just gonna fade like all 4 colors together. Instead, I decided to fade 2 colors together and have interspersed sections of lace in a 3rd color. So I didn't even use my 4th color because it just looked so starkly different than the other colors I had. So had to be flexible, didn't create the kind of design I really hoped for, but I think that the design I came up with, I'm really proud of it. It was not my original plan. So what I did is, it's a little bit short to be worn like just wrapped around your neck. And I'm used to, you know, the Find Your Fade was like 10 feet long. So it's a little short. So what I did is I added, and this is part of the pattern, I added like a loop. I added a loop with a button, and you can thread in the skinny end of the shawl through to secure it. So you can wear it like a cowl, kind of cinched up around your neck, kind of a fun asymmetric look. Oof, hair. So it's this asymmetric triangle shawl that you could also use like 3 separate skeins. I tried to fade in the middle. It didn't turn out perfectly how I had hoped, but I'm still happy with how it turned out. Is that okay to say? I really think the shape is really fun. I like the play with the textures. I think that the 2 colors that I ended up fading together are just a little bit too close to one another to really show the contrast. It would have been really nice to have like a light, like a light green and like a darker green to show that fading, but I still think that it worked out pretty well. It was just fun. I like that with getting free yarn for a blog hop, I could experiment a little bit more and try something out and learn something in the process of crocheting. So I definitely feel like I learned a lot in this design, and it also makes me really want to make some more shawls and design some more crochet shawls soon. So I think that'll be coming up sometime this summer. I think shawls are a really great project that's a bigger accessory, so not super quick like a hat, but also not as big as a garment usually. So I have some ideas brewing in my brain for some shawl designs, and I'm in the mood to work on some more shawls for sure. Oh, I totally forgot. This is my love note. I knit it last year, at the very beginning of last year, for the Love Note is in the Air knit along that myself and Jessica of JS Threads hosted. This is Knit Picks where we crochet. I held together a palette and a loft. A loft is their mohair base, and I'm just wearing this today because it's like in the 50s, so perfect temperature for like a lightweight, not super thick and warm sweater, but I can still get away with wearing a sweater outside. And then also, like, you can see I've got this nude, it's actually like a half tee. Half tee is the brand. It goes like just under my bra, and so it really just covers the lacy bit that I don't want like my bra to be showing. So it's really nice to maintain that like little level of modesty. They have tons of colors, tons of styles. I definitely want to buy more since this size right now is an old one I have and it doesn't fit me great. It's a little bit tight. So I'm gonna upgrade, get some more of these half tees for layering underneath sweaters, and I'll share more about that in the future because I think they are an excellent hack for wearing your like lacy yoked sweaters while still like being modest and not having to do like full layers. You can just layer your top part and that really needs to be covered. I love it, and I'm really happy I could wear this. I'm feeling spring right now. We just had some massive snow dumped on us this week, but it's all melted now and it's like in the 50s, and tomorrow is Easter, and it's spring right now, and I'm hoping it stays spring, but we'll see. Time to talk about some whips that I've got. First whip that I want to share with you is actually one that's been on the needles for a while, but I'm making some really good progress, and so I'm happy to share with you. This is my Heartsplosion sock. This is a pattern by Olivie Knits that I tested, and so this is the second sock that I've just really dragged my feet on. So I was somewhere on the leg last time, but I was able to finish the heel, finish the leg, finish the heel, and I'm in the middle of the gusset right now. And you can see the very top, there's like a heart, a big heart on the very bottom of the heel. You can see that starting to take place. So these have not been my like priority project at all, but I had a weird time where I didn't have any vanilla socks on the needles, and all my other projects were like big, and so I just needed to work on something small and more portable, and so I brought this with me. Even though having 2 skeins of yarn for color work is not the most portable, but it wasn't the worst either. So I just took these with me and I've been making a little bit of progress on them. And now I've got a little bit of easier knitting for on the go that I have started since then. So I kind of switched my direction. The gray is like maybe Coal Forge is a color maybe, and it's from Cascade Heritage Sock. And then the variegated color is Shop Around the Corner by Woolberry Fiber. And I still have it in my sock mist bag from White Rose Fiber Co. It's perfect for knitting socks, though it doesn't have a handle, so this is mostly a keep-at-home sock knitting bag. My on-the-go project that replaced my Colorworks socks is my Desert Vista Dyework socks for April. I am done knitting on shorty socks. I needed something different. I needed something still really easy mentally to work on, just to have something vanilla. So I wanted to just get these socks done earlier in the month than I have been the past couple months, so I don't have to stress about it and I can just have them done and then pick up some other sock yarn to just kind of to knit at my leisure. I've already finished one sock. I started this sock on Monday. It is now Saturday. The reason that I finished it so fast is because I had a lot of classes and trainings this week. Like, I only worked one shift at the hospital and then I've had like 4 days of like classes and meetings. So with all those days of classes and meetings, I've been able to get some knitting done. Also a little bit like working on the train, though I've switched to like doing some reading in my textbook for work so that I can put in a little bit of time with working. This colorway is called Succulents, and I didn't realize until I started working it up, but it's got like a gradient. So it's got like this like bright pink. I don't know how well you can see that. And then it's like kind of a muted purpley pink, and then it's got like a light pink. And so it's just like rotating through those three. And again, the green is also kind of rotating. So it's got like, these two colors look the same to me, but this color definitely looks lighter. So it's just kind of an interesting striping pattern that I haven't seen in a sock set before. So this was really fun. The mini is called Mint, and I've tried in the past to match my mini as close as possible because I do really like coordinating socks rather than having a contrast heel that is a totally different color than any that's featured in the sock. And so I thought the mint would be good because there's like some of this lighter green. They're almost the same shade. I thought that would work great, but it's just not worth the effort to try to like plan out this yarn, the stripy yarn, to line up with where I want to put the heel in the mint color. So I just didn't worry about it. I just like didn't care. So same thing, especially with the toe, you can see I've got that like light minty green. On the camera, you can see it more, but in person, it's like really close to the same shade, but I just didn't care. I was like, it's time to start my toe. I'm just gonna start my toe, and it doesn't look amazing. It's not like perfect and pristine, but they don't need to be. They're still beautiful socks, and I still love them, and I knit as much as I wanted to. I did 40 rows, I did 40 rounds on the leg after a 20 round cuff, and I did about 40 rounds on the foot after the gusset. Just a plain vanilla sock with some really pretty yarn that I was really enjoying, and I was just knitting. And I'd be like, you know what? I'm ready to start a heel. I'm just gonna start a heel because I could not be bothered to like exactly plan, especially because this color is not exactly the same as this light green. They're pretty close, but I just didn't want to finagle it. I really like them. They're very crumpled from being in my bag. My other sock I started at work yesterday during my class, and I'm maybe like 2/3 of the way through the cuff, 3/4 of the way through the cuff. It'll go a lot faster once I am just knitting in the round. But what's really cool about this is that I just wanted a simple sock, just totally mindless vanilla sock. I wanted to do something totally different and use flexi flips. Now, if you have not seen these before, this is by Addie. And this is my first set of Addie needles, but they're kind of like a double pointed needle, except for in the middle, there's this flexible bit, this tubing. So instead of needing 4 needles, you can bend, ta-da, you can orient your needles in the way you need. So I just use like my 3rd needle to knit off of this one, and it bends. I can rotate around. So I only need 3 needles instead of 4 to 5 needles, which I like a lot better than DPNs. It's still a little bit fiddly, so not my favorite, but this has been fun as an experiment to work on, and I'm much more comfortable with them now than I was when I first started, like with casting on and stuff. Definitely the first few rounds are the hardest, but I feel like I really got the hang of it. My only complaint is that the join where the tubing and the metal meet is not like the cleanest, and so sometimes my stitches get caught on it a little bit. So that's not my favorite. But I have enjoyed the process, and I can definitely see myself using these needles again for a different sock. It's just fun to be able to knit in different ways. So I got those to try out. I'm pleasantly surprised, but they're not my favorite. But I still really enjoy them, and I like how with Magic Loop I have to keep like moving my needles around with my tubing. I like that it's all connected for Magic Loop because I keep dropping needles and having to pick them up again. But I like that I don't have to move needles and cords around as much as I do when I am doing Magic Loop. So that's really nice. I'm definitely going to use it some more. We'll see, I guess. Maybe it'll surpass my love for Magic Loop knitting. Probably not, but I really like them, and I definitely recommend. If you know of any other styles of knitting needles that are different, I don't know, like there's other styles of knitting needles, and I would love to branch out more because I've done a lot of Chow and now I've tried Addy Flexi Flip, so I'd love to try some more knitting needles. Leave your recommendations down below if you have any that you love. My next whip is one you have not seen before, unless you follow me on Instagram, and in that case, you've seen that it's like 95% finished. Like I almost finished it, and I almost didn't film the podcast today so that I could finish it because I'm really close, but I didn't. So it's still a whip, and I will show next time that it is finished. It's a big one too. I started knitting a ranunculus. It looks all scrunched up, but that's just because I've got my sleeve stitches all tied together in the middle, so it's like pulling inside. I think I did size 1 or 2 maybe. So I did the smaller size because I didn't want quite so much positive ease. It's definitely not as small as it looks. I started binding off the ribbing because this is all the yarn I have left. So I am using up every last inch of this yarn that I can, partly because I have a longer torso, so I needed to add like 3 inches to the pattern. And so I did that. I don't think I have quite the length of ribbing that the pattern calls for, but it's the best I can do, so that's what I gotta do. I love this texture in the yoke. It was super fun. Last Sunday I started it, and now it's Saturday. So I'm gonna finish this sweater in less than a week because I'm sure I'll finish it today because it's just barely after lunchtime. So I've got plenty of time to finish it. This was so fun. It really was like a palette cleanser because it was a bigger project that worked up fast because the gauge is so loose. I'm using DK weight yarn. This is Treehouse Knits Organic Non-Superwash Merino in the color I piggybacked from a pizza dough freezer. And I actually love it in the variegated. You can still definitely see the texture and the lace because the variegated is subtle enough. I love, love, love this. So I really hope that it is long enough when I finish it that I really enjoy it. I'm gonna do just short sleeves because I'm running out of yarn. My plan is to use my gauge swatch to finish off my sleeves. I just need to knit a couple rounds and then bind off, and then they'll be good to go. So super fun. I learned how to do a tubular cast on for the first time. The first time I did it, it was like this big. It was way too tight, but I followed a tutorial. I'll link it down below, and it worked out great for starting a provisional cast on. And then you kind of need to do like a knit one, slip one, and then like a slip one, purl one, like sequence in your rounds. I couldn't possibly teach it to you, but it made sense to me once I got into it. And people complain about it being like excessive. The only annoying part was having to do the provisional cast on with a crochet hook, and I needed like a massive knitting needle to crochet around to give me enough space. But after I started it, it like was not hard. Like once I got my brain wrapped around it, I knit like 4 rounds, which is actually 2 rounds since you're slipping every other stitch. And then you could just start the actual ribbing and pull out the provisional cast on. And then like magic, it turns out so pretty. So really happy with that. I'm currently doing a tubular bind off so that it would be a very similar look. I love how a tubular bind off looks, how it finishes off the edge. So I'm just working on that, and then I'm gonna do my sleeves and really finish those up. So I'm really excited about this. I really needed something that could work up so fast, and this has really been like my at-home project recently. I just really needed something easy. And then I need to go back to my husband's cardigan that I am working on for him. I haven't worked on that in a while. Mentally, I needed something different that was very instant gratification, like, oh, this is a really fun yoke. Oh, the yoke is already over. Oh, I'm already splitting for sleeves. Oh, wow, this body's really working up fast. Like, I just needed something that was really enjoyable and fun and a little different, but like pretty mindless. This fit the bill. And I know that Rachel is knitting, and a couple of her friends are like all doing like ranunculuses right now. It's funny, I started like a week ahead of all of them, but they're all joining in on making a ranunculus, which is pretty funny. So they're doing like an unofficial make along, I think. So I just beat everyone to it, I guess. This is on my list for Make 23 in 2023. I love it. I'm so happy with it. I did a gauge swatch for my oat sweater, which is another one that I wanted to prepare to do soon, but it ends up, I don't know what to do. I need your help. It uses the same needle size for the gauge I want compared to my ranunculus. So I was like, okay, I'll do the ranunculus first. I haven't quite decided if I like this gauge or not. It's definitely a looser gauge. And I think it's just because of, you know, this is a superwash worsted yarn versus a non-superwash DK yarn. They're just gonna be slightly different. And so this is definitely a looser gauge. So I gotta make sure that I want it to be this loose of a gauge. I haven't quite decided. It would be nice because it's a worsted weight, but it's kind of a pastel-y, springy color for it to be a lightweight. I don't think it's too see-through, right? I'm not sure. So I haven't quite decided if I'm gonna knit to this gauge, which would take the same needles that are currently on my ranunculus, or not. But as I'm talking to you, I think this is a good enough gauge. Definitely looser, and I really don't want to add like a mohair or suri, just because I want this to be more of a spring sweater. Mohair kind of itches my arm a little bit, like my underarm. So I really just want to knit with this. I don't want to hold it with anything. I think this will be good. But yeah, so I got my gauge swatch for that as well. This yarn is Teeny Button in the color Bartok from their Anastasia collection. I love it. It's the perfect like warm, neutrally purple. It's gonna be so pretty. So I swatched for both sweaters and started my ranunculus on Sunday. It's almost done, so that means I can start my oat sweater really soon. And hopefully that one will also work out pretty quick because, again, it's a worsted weight sweater to this gauge. I'm hoping that I can finish a couple sweaters before the weather gets really warm, that I can enjoy wearing like outside without a jacket, because that's like the best weather, like spring and fall. If the spring weather is like good enough for being outside, it's perfect. So that is the hope. We've been at this for 40 minutes and we are just starting into my new yarn goodies. So we'll see how long this podcast turns out. But I have lots of yarn that has come in the past like 5 to 6 weeks. I'm very excited to share with you. Ta-da! Okay, so first I made a purchase from Kimber's Cozy Creations. Now I already was getting her monthly sock club. I've just been going on a month-by-month basis if I'm really drawn to the inspiration. And February did not disappoint. This is called Fresh Bouquet. These are my colors, like this mint, purpley, pinky, mauve. Like, this is amazing. Like, I am so obsessed with this yarn. Like, I could just stop and stare at this yarn like all day. I love it. This is perfect. It's amazing. So I got that in the mail. So this was the February club, and I got it at the very beginning of March, like right after I filmed my podcast. So I got that, and then they were doing like I don't even think it was a sale. I think that Kimber was just like, hey, I've got a bunch of ready to ship items I'll send out tomorrow if you order. And so I was like, oh, you got me. So I like went on and I ordered a couple of ready to ship items so that I could start some fun new projects. So this is called The Void. It is very blacky black. And my plan with this is to combine this with January's color. Let me grab it. Okay, so this was January's sock set, and it came with a little mini of the Void, but Kimber is making an Alaska hat with this. This is Aurora Borealis is the color. It looks amazing. Using, you know, the black for the trees and brim, and then using the variegated color for the sky. It is stunning. And so I knew I wanted to make one, and I just hadn't gotten around to ordering the skein yet, but then I did. So now I am all set to start an Alaska hat whenever I get around to that. And Kimber has a couple different fingering weight yarns. So this one is her 75-25 superwash merino and nylon, the cozy fingering. And I like how it looks because it's not, I don't know, I don't really like how most like 80-20s look because they look like just the way the spin is. I don't know, I like how these look smoother. I don't know, that's just like weird, but I just made sure to get the same base for the Void so that it would match the yarn I already had, but I got their 80-20, which is a newer base, the twisted fingering sock set, because this is what was in stock, and I love this color. This is Sleepy Hollow. So pretty. So I really wanted it, and I've been eyeing it for a while, and when I saw it was in stock, I was like, I'm just gonna add to cart. So I did that. Perfect for fall. I don't have any plans anytime now, but I just love, love, love this. And I love having the 2 minis to go with it. I think it's really fun. Gives you a lot more flexibility in what kind of project you want to do for your socks and in the color work or just like the play with color that you want to do. And then the very last thing that I got in my ready to ship order, this is called Unicorn Dreams 2.0 in the Comfort DK base, which is 100% superwash merino. And so beautiful, the pastels, yum. So my plan for this is to make a Perfectionist Trap, which is a shawl design by Casey Knits. And I want to talk about this because you might have seen on Instagram, a well-known designer designed a cowl that looks almost identical to Casey Knits' Perfectionist Trap design, which is a shawl. So like slightly different project, but they look very, very similar. And Casey Knits is not like a small designer. They have like over 10,000 followers, I think, but it's just interesting seeing a huge designer make something and automatically become so popular when there's already a design out there that's almost identical. It's an interesting topic. So that might be a really fun like knit and chat to talk about. I don't think there's anything wrong with either, especially because I don't think the big designer was copying, but I wanted to support the smaller designer and, you know, in picking between the two projects, I picked the smaller designer to support them since that design has been out for a few years now. And so I bought this yarn to make it. And it'll be a little bit of a yarn chicken, but really I just want to use up my yarn. And it's okay if it's a few rows short, like that doesn't bother me. I just don't want to have any leftovers. So I bought 2, and I'm also cheap. I didn't want to buy 3 skeins of yarn. So I bought 2, and it should be plenty for making the bulk majority of that shawl. There's like a mint green in there too. Can you see that? Oh, I love it. Okay, focus. So I'm really excited to start that project. I think that'll be another, like it's mostly garter stitch with some slip stitches. It looked beautiful in like funky colors, in stripes, in a variegated, in something neutral. You know, it looked good in everything, and so I really wanted to try that pattern. So I got some yarn to support Kimber and to support this designer Casey Knits in their Perfectionist Trap shawl. So that is the plan. Other fun packages. So this again is a February sock club that I'm just doing month by month. This is LaRue Cotton. Their February yarn was Beyond the Mist. And this is their vegan sock base. You can see it's like really coiled looking. I really need to start making a pair of socks with this yarn to try it out. People that have worked with this yarn say they absolutely adore it. And I love this colorway, just the evergreen. The inspo pictures were stunning. They do a really great job at translating those pictures to yarn. So I got this skein. I got the January skein as well, but I have not gotten the March skein. So I really enjoy it. I'm hoping that I love working with this base, but I need to do that. I think I'd really like to do a project vlog working with vegan sock yarn because I think it's going to be such a different experience than working with like a superwash merino and nylon blend that I think a lot of sock knitters are used to. I also got another sock set. This is from Olivie and Oliver Fibers, and I love her yarn. I really wish the Tam didn't live in Europe because I would buy way more of her yarn if I did not have to spend money on shipping. So this is the feather sock set. The mini is called Cacao, and it's this beautiful, neutrally like beigey, creamy color with some pops of pink in it and some brown speckles. So, so beautiful. And it's actually got that like twist base, but it's a 75-25, which is really interesting. I don't usually see a 75-25 that has this twist look to it. So yeah, that finally came in the mail. It was lost in customs for forever. And I was worried that it would not make it, but it found its way to me. Yay. And then the last package I've got a couple other things to share, but the last yarn package I got, this makes me so happy. So this is from Long Dog Yarn. Their one collection to rule them all, which they're going to be doing a second round of pre-orders, I think next month in May, if I remember correctly. And I just ordered a small order. I had a hard time picking, but I have a job now. So I don't mind spending more money on yarn since I am working. I'm really excited for that second pre-order because I think I know what I want to get. But I got 2 skeins of this. This is the Breath Before the Plunge. So beautiful. I want to get another skein of this for sure because I want to make a shawl design that I have in mind. Using what I learned from the Sweet Pea shawl that I just designed, I definitely need at least 1 more skein. If not, I should probably just get 2. Or maybe I'll get 1 in like a sock set and then use the like mini for like a contrast something. I'm not quite sure. Maybe I should just get 1 extra skein and 1 sock set. So I'm definitely covered with my design since they're not going to do another pre-order. So I'm so excited about this. I love it. So like minty and earthy. I love it. And then I also got this sock set. This is the White Wizard sock set. So pretty. And I'm about to cast this on. I am testing a lacy sock pattern for Megan Gonzalez that uses Long Dog yarn. So I figured it would be fun to use this sock set for it because I didn't have a plan necessarily. And I think the high contrast would be really good for that pattern. So yeah, I'm probably going to cast this one on pretty soon here. Actually is like very similar like color palette to the camel I just finished. I've got like a lot of pastels and like greens and blues and like the middle ground between blue and green. That's kind of like where I like to be. Like warm pastels and then like blues and greens is my vibe. This was a really fun little package to get and I'm really looking forward to the next pre-order so I can get some more yarn, especially so I can work on this shawl design because like I said, I'm in the mood to make some shawls. And I have lots of ideas in my brain that are just roaming around in there. And I'm really excited to see these get worked up. I guess I could always start, but if they're a different dye lot, I should probably wait until my new yarn comes. I haven't even ordered yet. The yarn that I'm planning on ordering, I should probably wait till that comes in and then I can alternate like an old skein and a new skein until they run out and then alternate the last old and new skeins. Something like that. Just to help with continuity of the color. But yes, so those are really fun. But let me show you, I've got a bunch of books and other publications I want to share with you. Ta-da! I've got a bunch here to show you. So first, I went to Blazy Needles, which is the yarn store in downtown Salt Lake City because I was in the area and I wanted to stop by. I thought they might have Pom Pom magazine because on Pom Pom's website it listed Blazy Needles as a stockist, but I think it's out of date because the person I asked didn't even know what I was talking about. So I think it's just not, they haven't done that in a while, which is fine. It's fine. I got a couple other things. I got Vanishing Fleece by Clara Parks, which is about the American wool industry and kind of goes through the process of harvesting and milling that wool, as well as talking about how that industry has changed over time and where it's at now and the potential future for that industry, especially to have it disappear. I am really excited to read that and I am really hoping to do like a book review where I talk more about this and maybe do like a knit and chat or something where I talk about some of these themes. I don't know, I love books. I'm making more time to read now than I have recently. And so I really want to dive into these crafting books and to share them with you. So if you are also a knitter and a reader, or a crocheter and a reader, I would love to have you come along with some like book reviews, or I don't know, but just looking through, I've got lots of books and magazines here, so I'd love to share the books that I've already had, and I would love to share newer books. That is like my goal. I also got this book by Clara Parks called The Knitter's Book of Yarn. And I think that this is going to be a really cool resource to teach me a lot more about yarn than just what I've learned from my experience. Getting to know like what types of plies are best for like showing off cables and what might be best for like working with lace. I think that this will be a really informational book, and I would love to learn some things in here to really solidify my knowledge about yarns, and to share that with you in like an informational type of video, just to help you to learn more about the yarns that you use and use them to like their fullest potential. Because something that I learned a couple years ago, you know, I started learning about like different fiber types, and that like acrylic yarns are not going to be good for a dishcloth because they don't soak up a lot of moisture, but cotton works better because they're still kind of hard wearing, but they also soak up moisture. So things like that, like I've learned some things through my craft, but I would love to learn a lot more, and I'd love to share that with you. So that is also on the docket. I placed an order with Brooklyn General Store, which is in New York City area. I finally found Pom Pom magazine because I couldn't find it anywhere in Utah. I really didn't want to pay for shipping, but especially not from Europe. So finding it at Brooklyn General Store was good enough for me. So I got the newest issue of Pom Pom magazine. It's their spring 2023 issue, and I got this because one pattern in particular, though I do enjoy other patterns, but there's one pattern that I had to have. I don't know how to say it, the Weffenty. Like, that is so cool. It's like woven. You use 3 different yarns and you interlace them together as you are crocheting. I need to know how this happens, like this magic. And so I really wanted to have this magazine so I could do that, try making that piece. There's a couple other cool patterns in here that are catching my eye, but I think that crochet top is what's going to be the first thing I make out of this magazine. I also got, this one's kind of fun and a little bit related, not so much, I'm not sure, but I got this from Brooklyn General Store as well. It's the estuary skirt by So Liberated. I bought the pattern. I am really excited. I do want to do more sewing, and there's a yarn store near me called Harmony. It's in Provo, Utah, and they also have a lot of fabric. And so I would love to do like a me-made wardrobe type of video. Maybe I go and get the fabric and I like make the skirt, and then I make a top that matches it, that's like knit or crochet, or maybe I just like style a me-made outfit with the skirt, something along those lines. I need more skirts in my wardrobe. This one's super cute. I'd love to make it myself, and I think that there's a lot of overlap in the creative community with crafts, and I definitely want to do more sewing and make more time for that. I also got 2 magazines. This is both Taproot magazine, and let's see, I've got issue 43, which is called Roots, and issue 26, which is called Heal. And what's really cool about this magazine that made me want to get 2 whole issues of it is that it's got patterns, a couple knitting patterns or crochet patterns, a couple sewing items, a couple DIY type of home good things, recipes, stories, articles. It's got a very wide range of content, and I felt like this is the kind of thing that I would really enjoy delving into. It feels, I mean, Taproot, you know, what does that evoke in you? To me, it makes me think of like homesteading, simple living, making do with what you have, making beautiful things with what you have. And so I'm really interested in seeing between Roots and Heal. I think that it'll be really, really cool to see what this magazine is like and to get a feel for it. And I'm not sure if I could ever like get a pattern in their magazine, but I'm scoping it out and seeing if that's something I would either want to get regularly or try to be featured in. I'm excited. It's called The Magazine for Makers, Doers, and Dreamers. I'm liking the vibes, and I'm really interested in the topics and the things that it has to offer. That's a lot. I feel very blessed. Now that I'm working, also, I feel very blessed that I can have these plans and ideas, and even if they don't happen right away, that I can still enjoy them and look forward to them and finance these plans and dreams. Right now, I'm very grateful. Okay, so now I want to talk about some life and personal stuff now that I've covered all the crafty related things, just to kind of catch up because it's been a while. So, some things that have been going on with my family. Work has been really busy. I'm doing a lot of trainings and classes, which means I have to drive an hour there, an hour back minimum. With the awful weather that we've been having, it's more time. And with sometimes taking the train, that's also taken a little bit longer, but then I'm not driving as far. So it's been busy and spending a lot of time traveling up to Salt Lake is where I'm working. It's not like my favorite, but I do really enjoy the classes and I feel like they have been really good and helpful. And I'm a studious person at heart, and so I do really enjoy school stuff. So it's been fun and I've enjoyed it. It's just been busy. And my husband's job, he works as an engineer at a plant that is starting up again. They were closed down for a while to get new equipment and to kind of switch over what product they were making. So they are starting up, and this week, hopefully they'll start making their product. So it's Saturday and he's working today. He's had some really long days. If he hasn't had to pick up Georgia from daycare, he's had to come home at like 6:30 or 7 or 7:30, which is way longer than normal. So he's worked a lot, and I think this next week or two will also be just the same. So with my schedule being all over the place and his schedule being a lot longer than normal, it's just been tiring. We haven't even really been able to cook great dinners. We've had a lot of like frozen meals and cereal and eating out, which is like not ideal, but we are making it through, and I'm looking forward to a time when things are a little bit simpler. I've got a little bit less going on. It'll be way easier for me to work 3 12-hour shifts than to work 1 12-hour shift and 4 like 6-hour shifts. That's kind of how things are going, but I'm really enjoying it and I'm learning a lot, and I'm like excited for like the next step in my job to be able to care for more critical patients. And I mean, I don't wish for people to get hurt and to have to come to my unit, but I'm like ready to like take on the challenge when there are sicker patients that come our way. So that's kind of how things have been going with work stuff. For fun things, okay, this is really cool, but we went duck pin bowling, which I'd never heard of before. I'll make sure to pop up some video or picture, but my husband found this place that is fairly close to us, and the ball is like the size of a shot put rather than a big bowling ball. So it was a really different experience, and my daughter, she's 2, almost 2.5, she loved it. She had so much fun pushing the balls. She did not even care if it hit the pins. She just enjoyed duck pin bowling. So that was really fun to be able to do that and to just have some family time and to like see something that my daughter could participate in and really enjoy that was just different, that we had never done before. That was really fun. I've also gotten a lot of plants. I love succulents. I just think the variety is so beautiful. And so I have a handful of succulents. I'll try to get some B-roll of showing you like the plants that I've gotten. I still need to pot like a half a dozen or so. My husband just finished making some triangle shaped planters. And so I'm going to put like 3 in each planter. So I'm excited for that, to have everything kind of set up. And I have 2 windows in my craft room, and this window has kind of become my plant spot. So I still need to I need to put a hook up so I can have my hanging one, and get things kind of set up. But I've got like a new water spritzer and a new watering can, and I'm just really excited to be able to have these beautiful little plants and to just have the variety. So I'm really excited about that and to just be doing something different. We're gonna hopefully have a garden this year. The weather's been really chaotic, so we have not started a lot. We've started clearing things out of the planter box and weeding and cleaning up, but we definitely have more to do. So hopefully we'll get some of that done fairly soon so that we can get working on planting some seeds. Are you doing a garden? Let me know down below if you have any tips or tricks as we are kind of learning things, and just, it's not going to be a big one. We're going to have maybe half a dozen different items, plants, food products. So it's not going to be super huge, but we're really excited to be able to have a garden and work on that and spend some more time outside. We are really looking forward to that. So since our schedules have been really wonky, is a great word for it, we have actually started watching a show together, and my husband and I have a hard time watching things together because we're both pretty open to a lot, but I'm invested when I watch something. I am a completionist. I need to finish and watch the whole thing. I can't stop. My husband is very like, he'll binge it for a while and then he like won't touch it for months. So that makes it hard for us to watch something together because like I will want to keep watching it and he's just like, nah, I don't really feel like it right now. But then I don't want to continue on without him. So it's just kind of hard to find something we enjoy together. But I think on YouTube is where we do most of our watching. There are new episodes of Forged in Fire where blacksmiths like make knives and swords and stuff. It's pretty cool. And it's a nice, if you like the Great British Bake Off as like a hobby reality TV show that is not super dramatic, that's really like wholesome, Forged in Fire is another one like that. So we've been watching newer episodes of that have recently come out. And so that's been like our fun nighttime routine, is to watch an episode together and then crash because we are so tired. So that's been really fun to watch. But yeah, I've just been really enjoying it. It's just fun to be able to share something with my husband, and he has been interested in that type of like metalworking type stuff. He hasn't really delved in too much because it's kind of a big financial commitment to get started, but he's like dabbled in it a little bit and he's been enjoying it, and so have I. So it's nice to share something like that. If you have any other like good recommendations, because I would love to continue watching shows together just so we have something to kind of like share between us. I think that would be really nice. So if you have any good shows to recommend that we can maybe purchase, because we don't have any streaming services, we only have YouTube memberships. So if there's anything that we could purchase on like the Google Play Store or whatnot, let me know, because that would be really awesome. And then I've been doing a lot of reading, mostly because, oh my gosh, this podcast is so long. I've been doing a lot of reading, mostly because I've been in the car for like an hour a day, sometimes more with like some really awful snowy weather. And so I've been blowing through some audiobooks pretty fast. I'm just gonna run down really quick. Again, if you have any recommendations for books that you really enjoyed, especially listening, I'm not super particular about my audiobooks because I know some people really care about like the narrator. I'm not super particular that way, but if there are any books that you really loved on audiobook or just books that you really loved, let me know down below, because I'm kind of interested in most every genre, just depending, and just kind of working through my TBR list right now. A couple books that I've read. I've got a big list going over here. So I finished the Maisie Dobbs series, which is like a nice, it's like a cozy mystery series set between World War I and like now we're into World War II. Like it spans multiple years. I just finished the 17th book, and the author, Jacqueline Winspear, is still writing the series, but now I have to wait for the next book because I finally finished the books that they have already written. So I really like that it's like cozy mystery. I like that it's a historical fiction type of book, nice and wholesome, but it's not like, because there's some cozy mysteries that have like pretty lame writing, honestly, but this one, I feel like the writing quality is really good. I really am enjoying it. A little sad that I finished that series. Looking forward to whenever the next book comes out, which is probably, I think, like January next year, which is in a while. I also read The Maid by Nita Prose. I also read The Maid by Nita Prose, and this book is about a maid who is portrayed as being someone who is on the autistic spectrum, though it's never said outright. I enjoyed it, but I didn't feel like it was really that much of a mystery story. And as far as like the literary fiction sense of like the main character is learning through the story and you're watching them learn, and as a result I'm learning as the reader, it was just all right. There's a review I read that talked about how like if you're looking for a neurodivergent or an autistic character, The Good Sister as a thriller mystery does it way better. Eleanor Oliphant is completely fine, does it way better as like an introspective, like literary fiction style of novel. So The Maid was just all right. It kind of missed the mark. It fell short in a lot of ways to what I was hoping to get from it. It was still enjoyable, but with a seemingly autistic character or someone on the spectrum that it didn't say outright, and the way it was perceived by other people around them just didn't sit well with me. It wasn't great in that sense. So it was just like mediocre as a book in general. But let me know if you feel differently about it. I also read The Atlas Paradox. I read The Atlas 6 pretty soon after that one came out. I really should have reread it before I read The Atlas Paradox. I feel like I remember I liked the first book a little bit better than this book. This book felt very like much of a paradox. Like I loved parts of it and I also hated parts of it. Yeah, so it was kind of an interesting experience. I was hooked. I was intrigued. I couldn't put the book down. But I also felt like I didn't really like how the characters developed. The pacing of the story was like, there's some parts that I really wanted more juice in and some parts that like were whizzed past, and switching between different like perspectives I felt like was not like super consistent. So I kept being like, okay, when am I gonna hear from so-and-so again? I feel like the world building is really interesting to me, and there's just so many like deeper intellectual topics that like themes throughout the book that are just really intriguing, and I really want to see where this book goes. But again, this book was like all right. I think I also gave this one a 3-star because I just feel like there were a lot of things I had issues with, and it didn't feel like, I don't want to compare this to like other books necessarily, but for example, like Harry Potter, there were many parts of Harry Potter that even if you don't understand why something's significant in book 2, the author has, you know, planned it all out and like built this web of how it all works together. And so it all makes sense in the end. But I feel like for the Atlas series, this trilogy that the Olivie Blake is working on, it feels like there's so much detail that like isn't pertinent or doesn't really like support the story. Or if it does, I have no idea how. Like it just feels kind of nebulous, if that makes sense. Again, let me know if you read that book and if you have similar feelings. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the 3rd book. I want to see how it all turns out. I do feel like this book was a little bit not as good as everyone's talking about. Like I feel like I have lots of issues with the way that it was written and the meat that the author gave me as the reader. Beyond the Wand was my next book. I was ready for something different than like a novel, between some cozy mysteries and then like a dark academia book. I read this memoir, and it's by Tom Felton, who was Draco Malfoy in the Harry Potter movies. And I had a mega crush on him growing up, but it was really interesting. I liked reading this book. It was very lighthearted as far as memoirs go, which is good. I don't think I can handle something that's like super intense emotionally right now just because of the emotional nature of my job and like having a toddler emotional. And so I really liked, there were some behind the scenes on like movies he's worked on and people he's worked with. So there were some really fun stories there. It was interesting to hear about his experience growing up as a child actor, which was very different than that of maybe like Emma Watson or Daniel Radcliffe or Rupert Grint, who like left their old life behind, whereas he kind of had one foot in the acting world and one foot in like his normal life back at like public school. So that was kind of interesting to see. And he even shared some struggles that he had had personally with like substance use and like feeling kind of lost in the world of Hollywood, but in a very like lighthearted and like retrospective way that, you know, he has learned and grown from those experiences, and now he's on the other side and feeling more sure of himself. But it was like a retrospective type of memoir. It was interesting. I listened to the audiobook, which was really fun because he read it, and so it made the words come alive. I think if I tried to read this just as a physical book, I would not have enjoyed it as much, but hearing him speak and throwing in his laughter and like his intonations just felt like he was giving like a commencement address or something like that. And so it was really enjoyable and like really relaxing to listen to. So I really enjoyed that book. I gave it a 4-star. Like, it wasn't anything super meaningful to me, but I really enjoyed it. And I feel like for what I was expecting out of this book, I feel like it gave me pretty much what I wanted. For like another spin on what did I listen to, I have been working on some more Bridgerton related books. So I have started the Rokesbys series. This is like a prequel to the Bridgerton series, and there's 4 books in the series. I've read the first 3 now, and I blew through them very quickly. And I think that they were published after Bridgerton in the way that they're written. I think I can say that. They take place around the time of, oh my gosh, what's it called? They take place in like the late 1700s when like the British are fighting the American colonies. They definitely happen earlier, but it's still like a very similar kind of, like, it's only off by like 1 generation, I think. You don't hear about Violet and her husband. You like hear about them briefly, but you don't really see their story at all. So this is like the next door neighbors of the Bridgerton family a generation earlier, if that makes sense. So definitely still like Regency-ish era, like romance. Feels very Bridgerton. I've enjoyed them, but also, am I being so critical of all the books I'm reading? I've enjoyed them, but it also feels like Julia Quinn, the author, is like out of story ideas, and so she's just coming up with like the most outrageous ideas she can come up with, if that makes sense. So like in one of these books, the heroine travels to the United States to go look for her brother, and then she finds her brother's best friend who she had like a crush on. And she says that he's like her husband. But then they go like the whole book like that, and oh, I hate miscommunication tropes and fake husband tropes. I don't like enjoy it as much. Though I kind of enjoyed this one more than I usually do, but something super huge and dramatic. Or in the other one, the heroine got kidnapped by pirates because she like found their hoard. Like, that's just like so unrealistic. Like, how often did that happen in Regency era? Like, I enjoy more of the common day-to-day, like going to balls and having visitors and courting. Like, I like more of that traditional like Regency era style of romance. So it just felt a little bit excessive, like, of a story, but I enjoyed them. They feel a little silly to me in like how crazy the story is, but I've been enjoying them, and I've really enjoyed the characters themselves and the interactions that they have together. This last one, the third one, I think might be my favorite of the 3, because I feel like I understood the characters on a personal level more, and I loved how like their tender love like grew. I'm almost done reading. I don't have very much by Julia Quinn left, so maybe I'll switch to like Emily Henry for like a more like contemporary romance, or maybe I'll switch back to like a Jane Austen to get that like traditional Regency romance style that like is more like a day-to-day fiction rather than like a explicitly romance type of book. I'm not sure. I'm kind of just going with the flow, and I'm usually only listening to 1 audiobook, 1 physical book, and then I have a Kindle too. So like I haven't been reading my Kindle recently, but I really only usually have like 3 books going at once. And so I've just been plowing through books really fast with my long drives and just listening to audiobooks. So if you have any good recommendations for me, I like all sorts of things. I really like historical fiction. I do like more like mystery type of books too, and contemporary fiction sometimes. I don't know. I like all sorts of things. So definitely let me know down below if you've read anything recently that you are really enjoying. What a long podcast. Oh my goodness. So thank you so much for sticking with me as I shared all things Yarnie, as well as what's going on in my life and family. And thank you so much for being here. And again, thank you so much for subscribing. I love seeing my channel grow slowly but surely, and I really hope that I can hit 1,000 subscribers this year. That would be an amazing goal. That's kind of everything I've had to share with you. So again, thank you for being here. Let me know down below if you've worked on any of the projects that I've got on my needles or hooks, and let me know if you have anything in particular that you want to see from my channel. I have a spring planning video that should be coming out fairly soon. I just need to be able to sit down and edit on it, where I share my process of planning my spring making plans for the next few months and rearranging my yarn shelf like I have done already. So you can kind of see that process and how I do that each season. Until next time, happy making. Bye!